Hey, welcome to the Unmasked Podcast. This is episode 3. Surprise! There's a third one. Aren't you so excited?
So excited.
I know that I am, especially because I have my good friend Johnny Terrell here with me from Soul Haven Studios in Virginia Beach. He is a diamond in the rough on the East Coast for studio and amazing ears and production. I just recorded my last album with Johnny, Cayenne Roses, and then came in again to finalize the last tracks for my upcoming 18-track full-length, titled to be revealed soon, and my acoustic album. I was just commiserating with him how I subjected my boyfriend to crying for hours after my last recording session, which is partly due because of the kind of things that I sing about, and also because I have a concussion. So, anyway, that's the quick backstory. When Johnny and I first met each other last year recording Cayenne Roses, we immediately hit it off, probably because we're neurodivergent music freaks and nerds, and we love all the same things and the same writers, which is why he's on the show with me today. But, Johnny, tell me about yourself.
Hi, I am a recording engineer. Yes, like you said, I'm based in Virginia Beach, although I work with artists all over the world. I've been literally on Zoom sessions all day with an artist from LA, and then I got another one from Montreal I'm hopping on with later, and just constant mix tweaks and all over the world. Although it's way more fun to have people in the studio. So like our sessions are always a great time, no matter how emotionally heavy the music is. It's always incredibly fun. But yeah, so I work with all kinds of artists from major label to a lot of indie artists. I do voiceover audiobooks. I've recently gotten into spatial audio, so I've been doing a lot of Dolby Atmos mixes, which has been great. And and then a ton of production, doing a lot of like indie pop, country. I do a ton in the R&B space, so just kind of all over the place, which is how I like it.
Give me your one big hitter, your one heavy hitter.
Well, there's a couple. So the one that got the most, I think, on streams, I just have a crediting app that lets me know like what what the streams are. I think is the Let It Bang by A$AP Ferg. There's another one with Schoolboy Q, Rick Ross. I do a bunch with SWV. I have a Hunter Hayes song that's starting to get some heat, which is sweet. Let's see. And there's some like trap music. A bunch of Sexy Red songs. I got linked in with one of their producer writers, and so they'll just send me stuff to like edit, fix, and mix, and then I'll shoot it back off. And it's just like I'm like, oh, there's no way anybody's going to hear this. And then I look at like, oh, okay, it got 300 million streams. Okay, I guess people are listening to it. But yeah, and then I've worked with a lot of great producers. I've worked with Timbaland. I've worked with Teddy Riley. Yeah, just a ton of great people just all over the place. And then doing music for, I just finished it's going to be a cartoon musical show on Nickelodeon. I don't remember the name of it, but Ariana Grande, Wicked opened it up. Now everyone's opening up the purse strings for musical things, so which is great. So yes. Anyways, just a lot of random stuff, and if you go to the studio website, you can find my page, and then you can open up. I have a Spotify link essentially with all of the things I'm credited with. So there's a bunch of stuff with Tech Nine.
I never see that. I just was like, let's roll, but I didn't know. I didn't know all that.
I don't know. Well, like you've been yelling at me for the past year of I'm terrible at marketing myself. So it's just now those things are in place. So when people look me up, it's just like, oh, here's all of these things.
I did say that to you, didn't I? Yes.
Yeah, because I'm a classic studio rat and just like being in the studio and hitting the record button.
That's what for following through. See, these are the tidbits of like marketing stuff I do with small businesses that I forget that I say that actually like really helps them out a lot. I don't mean
it works.
It does work. I don't mean it in like an arrogant way. It's just a
part
of what I do,
Yeah.
I've done it for years and years and years.
Sure.
So I did know about some of that, and I keep like hitting my nose because it's allergy season. I'm like, shoot, if this is on the camera, they're gonna think I have a Coke problem.
I can assure you, Coke is the least of her issues. No, we're good.
That's true, and I've never. And I never. Will.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I just figured like on a podcast like this that anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about our studio experience because
Sure.
I want everyone to know. I want to be organic in the flow. We're gonna talk about Jason Isbell's album "Foxes in the Snow," which I'll dig into later. But I do kind of want to talk about our studio experience because
Yeah.
I think that's natural for this. So what I experienced when I walked in was, one, it is not a huge space, which I think is good because huge can be overwhelming. You have an impeccable ear. I felt really like there weren't any allergies or allergens. So I've been in studios where like they weren't super clean. They were well known. They were represented, but they weren't super clean. And the sound, I clogged up within half an hour. So I lost my hour. I lost my money and I lost my timeline. I mean, it's just
Sure.
mold and dust and whatever else they've got going on. And I'm not criticizing them because it's hard.
Sure.
But your space is so clean, and I know you work at that.
Yeah. I've well on both sides of it. So I have been in studios like the mega studios that are so sterile that like I don't even like sitting behind. Like there's a studio now. Like there's a short period of time where there's a producer from Nashville. Every once in a while, I would go out to Nashville and sit in on sessions. And I like it was the most uncomfortable. It was a great studio, like huge console, all the classic gear you'd want, but it was so sterile and just like it just didn't feel good at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then also being in studios where there's like a bong next to the computer and like.
No.
You know, like half the gear is broken, and you know, like it's not great. And so when I came across this place and then ended up taking over here, that was a big thing of like it needs to feel. A couple artists have said this. It feels like a comfortable cabin. It feels like you're in a creative cabin, which is great. And so, you know, and then I think it would even classify as like a very like mid-sized studio. Like it's not, you know, we don't have like mega multi-rooms. We have one large tracking room, vocal iso booth, control room, and then there's another studio in the back. But it's enough space to work. And then like, you know, if people need to do like full on, you know, like big jazz bands, everything separated, big band stuff. It's like, you know, there's a studio down the street I have a great relationship with. I could like, okay, let's do your tracking there, and then we can do overdubs or whatever here. But this place is comfortable enough, and routing wise, we can kind of get everything done we need to get done. And then again, it's just it's a very well tuned room. And yeah, the cleanliness is a huge thing. Of just keeping it just a comfortable space, and you know, keeping cables out the way so you walk in. You know, it doesn't feel like, okay, you're just walking in on somebody else's session where there's microphones everywhere and, you know, stuff tipped over. Like, we try to make sure, you know, the trash is taken out and, you know, things are nice and orderly. And then,
it's comfortable and it's welcoming and you feel like you can work there. The big leather seats are nice. There's space for, like, I brought my fiance the last time. That was great for him to be there with me. And then the kitchen area and everything. It's a really great experience. And I've referred people to you since then. And I know they've had a great experience too. So, you know what I think is really interesting about being a studio engineer like yourself with a great ear and a musician yourself who's gigged and plays guitar really well, is that you are able to work with the nobodies like me and then work with the big buddies like Timbaland, you know, and you're so down to earth about that experience. And it kind of puts a perspective, I think, for me as an artist, right? I think it's really cool you hold this space for us because, you know, it takes money to make money. There's money behind every artist that makes it, period.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. I don't care, like, there are people who, they hit it big, they're one-hit wonders, whatever. To keep it going requires money. And they don't necessarily make that money just because they hit a number one, right? Like, people don't make money off hits anymore because the software companies are stealing all the money. So, but there's still such an incredible need for authentic voice and art. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. Not political art.
Right.
Like, right now, personally as an artist, I feel so squeezed between the blue and the red, of which neither I ascribe to. And I consider, like, Ashleigh, if you look at folk art, that's the history of musicians. But somehow in the genre, somehow in the culture, it has become that in order to get traction anywhere to have value, you have to swing one way or the other. And I'm like, that's not actually ever been what artists were supposed to do. They were supposed to push the envelope, tell the story, and connect with people. Like, that's... And I think I fit that mold pretty honestly. And I've always told everyone, like, I don't check your political box. Like, not one of them. Like, I'll align with you as a human. I will always align with you as a human.
Sure.
But politically, like, it's all garbage for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but you've kind of created, bringing it full circle, like, when you've worked with big, talented artists and you've worked with smaller artists, but you still treat them all the same and you value their art the same. I think that's like a priceless thing to work with, which is why I keep coming back.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, there really is no difference of, because I think even the quote unquote bigger artists I've worked with, a lot of times, like, yeah, they're just trying to figure out whatever they're trying to say. But like, you know, like anybody coming in with a acoustic guitar, like, okay, I'm trying to find my voice. It's still the same. It's still the same thing, whether there's a big machine behind it or not. And yeah, for me, I'm here to do a job. I'm not here to like ride coattails or even have like what I think is sonically relevant or whatever be part of somebody else's record. I'm here to help curate like whatever you're trying to do. Let's get it coming out of the speakers in whatever way it forms. Some like younger artists or artists that like are still in development that like feel like they're failing. No, I mean, I've seen like major artists that like fumble around in a vocal booth for 6 hours before something was like reasonable. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to like mess around a little bit or like find your way through mistakes. If you don't nail it in the first take, I can assure you no one does. There's very few vocalists that like walk in and just like kill it, you know. But you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get there. And I think a great thing with the studio and this space in particular is like it's okay. Like it's a place to come and work and be professional, but but it leaves room to like get the footing to then be able to perform.
Well, that's an interesting point too, because as far as like the studio is concerned, you can record yourself at home. You can even self-record. You can jam with your band and play it back. It's never going to be the same as when you go in the studio. It's just never. Sure. It's never the same. At least not for me. You know.
I mean, at a certain point, you're going to compromise. Like I think because it's like a left brain, right brain thing where like if you have to think about the technical aspect of something, you're not really being the full creative performance. Like even like I'm doing some guitar overdubs for you. Like I have my like tomorrow my intern is going to be my back end, so like he's going to be able to sit and run Pro Tools while I can then just play because I don't have to think about it. Because it is like I don't like having to sit in front of Pro Tools, cue stuff up, hit record, and then me play, because what I'm going to play isn't going to be fully as immersive if I could just think like a guitar player. And then for you as a singer, like if you have to think about, okay, is this the right level input and am I getting enough reverb? No, let me worry about that. And then like you just tell me what you want it for feel, and then you could just be in the room and perform. And that's when things get captured. Yeah. Well, and then I think that's also important. When you have multiple people in the room who are creatively trying to achieve a goal, music is, I find it always more effective when it's a collaborative effort than it is just one person in a room hitting a record button. And if you look at any album credit from any artist, even this like most recent Jason Isbell record, which is just acoustic guitar and his vocal, there's still a list of credits. There's still a list of people because those people are important, whether it be like producer, vocal producer, engineer, mastering engineer. It's all those things that are gearing this toward a successful record.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's true. And every record's different. That's the beauty of it. Right. I could go on and on. Like when I walked into Tate Modern when I was in London and I looked at everything, I was like, you know, you just really take in the breadth of what people really consider to be art. And what I realized when I was looking at Rothko is what he offered was this like vapid space to get lost in color. And sure. you can discover yourself in that if you look for it or see an aspect of yourself or sure. feel nothing, which is also a reflection, right? So, but it's interesting what you're saying too, because you said I'm a singer, right? So, but I wrestle with this balance of songwriter, performer, vocalist, because I have a polarizing style of singing. I don't think I have a polarizing voice. I think it's a polarizing style, which came from what influenced me as I was in a rock and roll band, right? Like I sang opera, and then I moved into progressive rock, and then I found the blues where I was just singing my soul out. And I do think there's a cultural stigma against women who can really like blare it at you. And there's, because they'll listen to men do it all day, but if you're a woman, you can achieve it. There's like this cancel culture, like subdued cancel culture. And also I think it can be hard for people to listen to. I don't do as much of that anymore, but I think for me, I'm a songwriter and a performer first, and the vocalist, the vocal technique that I broadly have developed, right? Like I sing all kinds of styles, is it's something I've used to enhance those two skills. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. Absolutely.
Because I can sing so many different ways, you know, and I wouldn't like nail myself into one particular style, because I think the dynamic of what I offer is a part of my artistry.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that been your take when we were in the
Yeah, with you in particular, it's interesting because it's certainly not a contained performance, and like one of my favorite songs on the record we did was, and I think a great example of this very thing was Nashville Sun. Like there are moments of their vocal performance of that, it almost feels like a guitar lead, like when you're like really letting it rip. Yeah, and it's a thing of like you almost with your your vocal style, like when you're letting it go, it's almost, I can still, even if there was no words, I know exactly what, like the meaning behind whatever you're singing, which I think is a very powerful thing. And to me, it's a very beautiful, like, I mean, it's just incredible. Like our first session was it was a drum session. You were doing like scratch guitar and vocal, where you were like literally right next to me in the room, and so you could have eyes on was it Toby, the drummer? Mm-hmm. And you know, that was my first time like really hearing you sing proper. But I mean, even in those scratch takes, you were letting her up, and I was literally at the console, like, oh my, like I couldn't believe what was happening. Just like with so many songs. But also just like,
it was a long day.
It was a long day, but also like listening to what the songs were and making sure like structurally, okay, I have this. And then once I started hearing your lyrics, it's like, oh man, this is like very heavy. And then on top of just your vocal performance, when those moments would pop up, and it's not like you're like going full on Tina Turner for 5 minutes. Like it's not like just barreling through. It's just, but all these moments build up. It's like, what, you know? It's just these really beautiful things. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Of course, a big fan of you, your music, and all that. But it's Nope, here we are. But I think it's just, you know, I think it's just also, yeah, your caliber performance and writing, and if people don't get it, they're idiots. So there's that.
I'm gonna put that on a quote. I'm gonna be like, you don't get it, you're an idiot. Like,
yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so, but you remember when I came in, and this is all full circle, when we were talking about the album, I said I really kind of want to capture this. I really am kind of going for this feel of an album. Let's talk about what that means, though. Like, sure. I don't know that I would. It's hard for me to identify my influences of writers, because while I love his writing, I don't idolize anyone's writing. I don't idolize anyone. I think my writing is still really unique. I would have to say he's influenced it, but more of what I was trying to get at was the feel of the Americana.
Sure. Yeah, and that, I think that's very apparent in your record. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's when I said that. Yeah. You like made a post on social like, but somebody says Jason Isbell, I know that it's going to be a good album, hopefully, right? Well, I kind of want to circle back through there. Okay, so now it's full circle for us, right? Like, we found this like connection point because you were in a prog rock band, I was in a prog rock band. We both nerd out on music. We have like this very down to earth approach to art and people, and like you and I have had in-depth stories we'll probably never talk about on a podcast about how we've dealt with jerks, right? Yeah. And we would never like expose those people, but some of them are famous, you know. And it's like these are the encounters. We're only one step removed, right? And I think it's important that everybody has weak moments on the road. It's hard and it's tiring and it's exhausting, and we have these impasses and we love them, right? But then it gives us the grace in our position as not famous people to be able to just be like, we're all human and lift up others while being in this, like, on this bridge. I would say we're bridge people. That's kind of how I feel about...
Okay.
Would you say that?
Yeah. I would, I'd say that's about right.
Yeah. And I value that. I think I've always been a bridge person. So anyway, Jason Isbell's album, of course, we've been trading songs. So let me go back to this, because this is actually... Wow. my best friend, one of my best friends. Oh man, this is how we really started connecting on music. Last year in April,
Yeah.
one of my best friends died, Mark, and it hit me so hard. I have known him. I'm not over it. I don't know. I don't think I ever will be over it. Mark Wilkinson, and he was a drummer in Grey Matter in Charlottesville, and we had been friends for so long. And he was one of those people like you are with me. Like, we just hit it,
Sure.
like we just get it. We get music, we talk, we have a great time. He'd been through so much in his life, and he passed. And I told you about it, and we started trading songs one night.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this all like started
Sure.
happening. So Jason Isbell, and then this moment, and this is also the depth of the music community and where we find our people. And then here we are, Foxes in the Snow. I was waiting for his album. This is my favorite album of his since Southeastern. I listened to all of his albums within 24 hours as soon as I knew they were out, right? But this one is like my notes. You have your notes up. I had to have our notes. We have to talk to our listeners about this. Like, the fact that it's just him and guitars, and I think there's 2 guitars. There's layered guitars.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just one. I think it's just him.
That is insane. It's almost like he's on a 12 string. How well?
Yeah, it sounds very full. And I did actually. I mean, I know one of his producers, and I was like, okay, how'd you get this? And then he was like literally 3 of the microphones I have. So whenever we're back in for the acoustic record, I'm like, okay, I know exactly how we're going to be capturing the next one. Yeah. So, anyways, that'll be a conversation later for pre-pro. But but it's incredible. It's sonically it's incredible because like Southeastern is such a crazy record where there's like so many instruments layered, but it's done so well and subtle that you know when you really listen to that, I was like, oh, there's a lap steel I didn't hear, or there's all the stuff where this is just straight up exposed guitar vocal, which again when you dive into lyrics, like, yep, that's the only way to do this record is just the vocal and guitar.
But it's so alone.
Oh yeah.
So there's this like absence of, because Amanda Shires was on all of his music.
Yeah.
After Southeastern, and I don't know, and this is just my personal opinion. I don't know that it needed as much harmony as it had, but it was a representation of the synchronicity that they had. And you and I talked before. I don't want to speculate on the heartbreak that they've experienced. They had children. This isn't fuel for the fodder, but this is like an opportunity for us to explore the brilliance of his writing, the evolution of humanity and our emotional development, and reflect as musicians ourselves on what we've been through and why it mattered to us. So I'd love to take that angle.
Sure.
I know we both have like our favorite tracks and our favorite lines. And I think also like it's poignant to say it's easy to be critical. Right? Yeah. Like this, someone asked me once when I was writing, like, why aren't you doing real critique? And I was like, who the heck am I to do a critique? Like, I had to judge a couple of contests. Actually, side note, Michael Huntley, who won The Voice, I judged his very first radio contest.
Oh, really? Nice.
Mm-hmm. And he won. He sang, like, Fireworks by Katy Perry.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
That is very crazy.
And I know him personally. I haven't talked to him in years. I'm not claiming friendship. I just mean like that's like I did that, and I got some ridicule for being a judge, but they just wanted someone from the local music scene who could sing. I never felt like I was better than anybody. It was just I had achieved a certain amount of publicity and notoriety in the region, and it brought balance. A little bit of balance. And I brought other people into that judging stratosphere anyway. So anyway, the flip side of that is, this isn't about being critical. This is really about appreciating the art and humanity of the work.
Sure.
So, okay, tell me, what are your favorite tracks? Just the tracks, not the lyrics.
Sure. The two that like are continually like I just keep going back to are Go and Gravel.
Gravel Weed.
Yeah.
I picked that one. Yeah. Okay. So I have 4. Mm-hmm. It is Gravel Weed and True Believer, Don't Be Tough, and Wind Behind the Rain.
Yeah.
I do like Good While It Lasted is good too. The organization of these songs though, like the way they flowed.
Yeah, it's
kind of narrative.
It's I don't know whose decision that was, how, because like I feel like that's definitely a tough thing. I've had multiple projects where like, okay, we have these 10 songs, whatever. What's the order? Like that's its own ordeal of like
it is.
like figuring that out. And you can always tell when you hear a record, like, all right, somebody didn't think through this order. That happens all the time with records, but like this is like nailed it. Like top to bottom, like this is like, it's something where you could throw it on and not touch the next, or like, whatever. It's incredible.
It's probably something. It's not a concept album either. So the fact that it flows so well, and I love how it ends with Wind Behind the Rain, because it doesn't feel like it's about Amanda. I also love the bravery that he had to release this, period.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And like what is the line? It says, "It's the melodies, my melodies betray me. Sorry, all the love songs mean something different now." Like, holy,
I mean, come on, yeah.
That's like, was that not like a
yeah?
But I was a true believer, babe. Like. It was good while it lasted.
Yeah, just. It's crazy.
So I'll get a little personal on it though. Foxes in the Snow. It's interesting he titled that because for me, biblically, foxes were like the foxes in the vineyard, right? And so then you've got like the dripping blood, the crimson in the snow, or whatever. Like the imagery is Shakespearean. It's
Yeah, I mean the beast beneath her bed she defeats and leaves for dead. All fall asleep in my head. Seems so easy. It's just like, it's incredible.
So okay, Don't Be Tough though. I love the melodic stuff. I'm like singing harmonies with all of this stuff while I'm in my car, like stemming off of Wind Behind the Rain. And but Don't Be Tough is something I replay over and over. It's kind of to me, it's a tongue-in-cheek, like, sarcastic poem about, but also grounded. It's like the 10 Commandments of love, like simple actions that you should take to just be a good person. And it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all.
Sure.
Which, okay. So you and I have both been divorced. And you kind of like run up against your own reality and vision in this. Right?
Yeah,
and so,
big time.
So through the grieving, just purely on reflection of going through divorce, you kind of think through what was really broken from the beginning. And there's this hope of healing, but the truth is, like, if it's broken, it's broken. It wasn't there,
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever rosy colored thing you're attached to, true believer, I really thought this was real. And the parallel of that, because you hear a lot of Jason Isbell talk about Christian faith. Like, I don't think he's a Christian. I don't think he has that. Like, it's an Americana thing. He was like, just sounds like another kind of dope sick, right? I'm a Christian. But he does bring in these, like, brilliant poetic tropes of, like, I was a true believer. Like, I really thought that this was going to be the real deal. And then you just, like, gutted.
Sure.
All of
absolutely.
your insides are out. In that True Believer Babe song is like, but I heard God in the rhyme, and they did, like, I believe it was a solo show together.
Sure. Yep.
And I'm like, yeah. And then, like, so then you bring it back to let love knock you on your ass. He's like, well, he's basically admitting that I still would have done it again.
Sure.
Which is a giant in the room for the next person.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But that's not our problem. And that'll hopefully be the next record.
I'm like, well, I mean, it's true. But okay, so then when I go to Gravelweed, which, like, Eric, my fiance, pulled up the Gravelweed image, and it's such a stark thing. Because it is life in the rocks. And he's but in a way, he's claiming his ownership of his own life. Like,
Yes.
like you helped me out of this, but you're not my life. Like, let's just put a line on, what you said, like your girlfriend say you broke my heart, like, and I hate it. Like, his heart wasn't broken. Like, they don't have a kid together. Like, I want to put a box around the speculation, but it's also like, oh, I love that he's claiming that for himself.
Sure. But again, you could take his own personal stuff and you just apply it to any relationship, any whatever. I mean, it's all incredible, and it has the wherewithal. For my own situation, I didn't quite get the full picture of like what happened, how it ended, all that stuff until like years later, and then it was like, oh, okay, all of it made sense. All the stuff that was my fault, all the stuff that was her fault, all of like the why it should have ended, whatever. It just like it all like hit way later, but he's doing it like in such a self-aware, which is I think being an artist at this point in his career, like he's so aware of all of it, and then just like leaving it on the table for us to consume. It's amazing.
Well, I do feel like his heart's on a plate, but also I feel like her heart was on a plate. Like, I feel like when you go through divorce, you feel like your heart is on a plate.
Sure.
And it doesn't really matter whether you are owning it or you're dying in it. Divorce is so hard. And it doesn't matter if it was never meant to be. It doesn't matter if it was a mistake, if you never should have married the person.
Sure.
None of that matters. It doesn't change the pain of what you really wanted or what you went through, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I think this album, like, just really captures that. But he always gets me with his subtle sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love my love. I love her bite. In the little things. Okay, so here are some of my favorite lines. If you leave me now, I'll just come running after you. This is this is from the last track of the album. All my well beginnings are behind me. Oh, you take my boots off me when I'm gone. This is a throwback to Cover Me Up.
Yes, 100%. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. You agree?
Yes, absolutely.
I know time's running short. Do you have some lines there in front of you?
Yeah. So the ones that got me are. Oh, hold on. 1 second. Let's see. I mean, from the gravel, just the opening of that, as I wish I could be angry, punch a hole in the wall, drink a fifth of cheap whiskey, and call, but that ain't me anymore, babe, never was, to tell the truth. I just saw it in a movie, thought this was what I was supposed to do. Of like, I can relate to that, of like trying to go through the motions of like, oh wait, this is what it's supposed to be, right? Even good or bad, and then just like, oh yeah, none of this feels like authentic. And yeah, I mean, it's just a crazy.
Maybe he's sarcastic. He's like, none of this feels authentic.
Yeah.
Not afraid to get your sarcasm.
That's fair. And then "Good While It Lasted" is like, that last like little section is the night you came and stayed with me, painted on my memory. I'll never get past it. I got to hold a piece of you in the evening on the avenue.
In the avenue.
It was good. Yeah, it was good while it lasted. Just like,
yeah. Man, I feel like I already have this. Okay, so when I saw Napoleon Dynamite, it's so easy to memorize that movie. I think I saw it twice, but I have, like, at the time, I had the whole.
Yeah.
This album, I've already got it memorized. Let's see. The Melodies Betray Me line. That one is, I have a lot of favorite lines from probably every part of this song. Bury Me is such a. Okay. This is the last thing I say because I know we both have to go. But he really did lean into traditional melody on this in a way that he hasn't leaned into before. So while he had a lot of like classic narrative in all of his albums, and he has the Jason Isbell sound, like he has that through his guitar and his writing and his melody. There's still a lean into almost a Celtic and Irish, and then like
I mean just
melody,
just hitting John Prine all day. Yeah, he's the child of John Prine.
Oh, I mean, so I guess you could say I would never have said that, but you have a different ear than I have. But anyway, so this is Foxes in the Snow, Jason Isbell's latest album, which came out recently. It's so good. It's so good, everybody.
Yep.
Like, you should check it out. And again, like, this is about his heart being broken. We're not speculating. We're not saying anything negative. This is Johnny Terrell from Soul Haven Studios. And I am Ashleigh Chevalier. You already know that. And this is Unmasked, but I will leave with the verse, which is Zephaniah 3:17. The Lord your God in your midst, a mighty warrior who will save. He will rejoice over you with love. He will be silent in his love and sing a song of joy for you. I felt the connection with that one. So anyway, like, subscribe, follow, check out Johnny if you are looking to record. No, he doesn't need me to say that, and you probably be on a waiting list, but it's well worth the wait. He has agreed to do some of these episodes with me monthly, which will be great. Next time we're going to nerd out on microphones and gear and a whole bunch of other studio to-dos and not to-dos. So Johnny, I love you, man. Thanks for joining me.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.